Today we're going to talk about a question that many job seekers struggle with, and that is, how do I answer the greatest weakness question without sounding cliche? Hello, my name is Jesse. I'm an employment specialist, and on this channel we go over basic job search skills. Full disclosure, I'm also an employee of Epilepsy Toronto. All right, let's get down to the greatest weakness question. I'd like to start off by talking about some general answers that I would commonly get while I was in recruiting to this question. Number one, and about 7 out of 10 candidates would give this answer, is they would say they were a perfectionist and that they would take extra time to make sure everything was done completely correctly. The second most popular answer was very similar. About 20% of candidates, or 2 out of 10, would say, I'm too detail-oriented and I take extra time to make sure that all the details are taken care of. And another response that I've often heard would be, I work too hard, and some other people would give out answers that clearly had nothing to do with the job whatsoever. I actually have a model for answering this question. It's called SWIM, and stands for Strengths, Weakness, Impact, and Management. So the first thing you want to do is start off with a strength. You want to put your best foot forward when you're answering any question to an employer. But it shouldn't just be any strength. It should be a strength that you're going to use to manage your weakness, and I'm going to come to that in a minute. The second bit is the weakness, of course. Now, when you are selecting a weakness, there's one key tip that I'm going to give. Your weakness absolutely should be relatable to anybody. Anyone should hear your weakness and go, oh yeah, I've done that before. Or yeah, I can understand. Yeah, the key is to make it relatable. Number 3 is the impact. How does it impact the job? You're being interviewed for this particular job. So when you're selecting a weakness, you don't just want to throw out any old weakness that may not be relevant to the job. You're being interviewed for this one. So you should be able to articulate how your weakness impacts the job. And then we come to the fourth, which is management. How can you use your strength to manage your weakness so there's no impact to the job? Again, the model is SWIM. Here's an example using the model on how I would answer the greatest weakness question. While I try to be a very organized person as much as possible, people that I meet, I immediately add them to LinkedIn because I have difficulty sometimes remembering faces to names. Have you ever walked into a room and you know the person, you know the face, and you know the name, it's at the tip of your tongue and you just can't put the two of them together? And I really don't like it when that happens because I want people to know that I actually do care about doing business with them. So I want to make sure that their name and face are top of mind. So I'm very religious about the way I use LinkedIn because I have a face, I have a name, and especially when I'm going out to things like job fairs, I always take a look and see which companies might be there. So I can go through in advance and go, who do I know from that company? And I've had a refresher just before I walk into any job fair or meeting, or even when I'm setting up an event. So you notice when I answered that question, I said the strategy that I'm using right from the get-go is to use LinkedIn to mitigate some of the issues that I have around remembering faces to name. I also made it relatable to the interviewer, specifically in the beginning by saying, have you ever had a situation when? Immediately in the recruiter's mind, they will jump back to an embarrassing moment when that happened to them. And that is how you make that relatable. Additionally, I then went on to explain that this is not the way I want to do business, that I want to be better because I want people to know that I care to do business with them. And then I finished off by saying, this is how I manage it in this particular set of circumstances. So here's an example of public speaking. I believe that practice makes perfect. And I'm not a very good public speaker. There's quite a few times where I've got up in front of a mic and not been able to talk. So one of the things that I've been doing to change that, because I don't want that to happen in a business presentation, something that might be very important, I don't want people to think that I'm not confident when I talk. So I've been going to Toastmasters to practice constantly on how to do presentations, so that when I do one in front of maybe a board or a group of people, I can sound confident and people will take whatever information that I have to give with confidence. So I know what you're thinking. Jesse, this sounds all great, but I don't necessarily know what my greatest weakness is. How can I figure it out? Well, there's a few things that you can do. Number one, look at the job posting. See if there's anything that you're missing from the job posting or that you could be better at in the job posting. A strength that you can use is coming up with an action plan on how to deal with it. Is it through learning? Is it through hands-on experience? Is it through mentorship? These are things that you can answer right away. Are you new to the industry? Are you switching careers? Another question you can ask yourself is, where have you invested time in professional development because people have said in the past that you need to improve in that area? Or you can look back through your career and pick out maybe an embarrassing moment and think about what were some of the things that went wrong that contributed to that situation. And that could be the starter for a greatest weakness question. Finally, what I'm going to say is review your greatest weakness with a job coach, an employment specialist, even a best friend. Practice, practice, practice will make all the difference when it comes to answering this question. Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing about how to answer the greatest weakness question without being cliché. If you enjoyed today's content, please feel free to subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you next time for more job search content.